What's up, guys?
Clear my throat.
I'm scooching. What's up, boys?
Hey, Rich, how are you?
Everyone's good. How
What's
you
going
guys?
on, guys?
What's going on, Jerry?
Not much.
How you doing,
Jerry's
man?
lap.
And the drummer that I haven't met.
That would be me,
Chris.
Chris.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Maybe get in a little bit closer.
Anna, Anna, come here. Come here.
How's this?
Anna?
Should be good, yeah.
I said Jerry's lap.
We're getting a little bit ready for bed.
Hey, Anna.
Hi.
Hey, Anna.
It's a very good name.
Anna, say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
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 We'll make a Thin Lizzy fan out of her yet.
Cool.
Right, if not a Three Stooges.
Good night, sweetheart. Yeah, she wants to know what Daddy does. I say, sweetheart, this is not what Daddy does for a living. This is Daddy let you have fun.
She's not to know that.
Where's Gordo tonight?
He couldn't make it tonight, so he told us to just take it on ourselves and stuff. Probably wouldn't have been able to fit in the frame anyway.
Yeah, really. The room is not big enough
Yeah.
for Gordon.
Yeah, see.
By the way, representing.
Nice.
There you go. All right.
Nice. Thank you.
Excellent.
Very cool. All right, well, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for having
This is the
Thank
first
you.
for us. This is like pretty cool.
Okay.
Oh, really? Never been on any other podcast or anything before?
No, not yet.
Oh.
You guys are first.
Oh, wow, cool.
We're on virgin grounds here.
Never.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Rat Salad Review. And today we're here with the band, well, most of the band, Bad Habits, the Thin Lizzy Tribute Band. From
Three-quarters
Long
of the bad habits, so they're not that bad.
Not 100%.
We've got enough bad habits between the three of us to cover everything.
Island. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Chris. I'm the drummer.
Okay.
I play drums and I sing backing vocals.
And I'm Jerry. I play bass and do most of the lead vocals.
I'm sorry. I'm Richie Ross.
Richie,
Richie
that's
Rossicone.
your name is Richie.
I'm Richie Rossicone. I am one half of the lead guitar tandem in Bad Habits. So I play lead guitar and sing.
He does mostly the Scott Gorham stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Awesome.
Or Gordon does the rest of the the Brian Robinson stuff, the John Sykes stuff, the Gary Moore stuff.
The showy offy stuff we know.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Just kidding, Gordon. How you doing, buddy? Thanks again for that awesome mirror pickguard you got me for my birthday. Love you, buddy. Thanks.
He's good.
He's gonna love hearing that.
Awesome. So when did you guys start the band?
Well, we were just reviewing our history before we got on. Well, I guess it really started with you two guys.
Yeah, it was like the mind child of like Richie and myself back in the late '90s. We actually got together and we started doing some songs and stuff and started coming together. And then the drummer that we had picked out all of a sudden just up and left the state and moved to another state. So
How do you move without saying anything?
he just didn't get it. It's crazy.
I wasn't that dedicated, I guess.
I've seen ID Discovery shows like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was just out of hand. So he just disappeared on us, and nothing became of it until 2009.
Yeah.
2009. Yeah, and then he calls me up, tells me he's got a guitar player. That's a big Thin Lizzy fan that's willing to do it. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm playing bass then. And everybody decided that I should be playing bass because I do most of the vocals anyway. And I had been in a previous band with Chris not too long before I got the call from Richie. So I was like, hey, great, I got a drummer. I was like, let's do this. So we ended up starting out, we started to gain a little momentum, and then just life happened.
Mhm.
And then
we lost a guitar player, and then another guy, Chris, who preceded Gordon, So it was kind of cool because Jerry, Gordon, and I know each other from back in the day. We kind of come from the same neighborhood. Jerry knew Richie from
a completely different clique.
Yeah. So it was like the best of both worlds.
So I've basically grown up with everybody in the band.
Oh, good.
It just made sense after we tried when we came back in what was it, 2017? 2017 we came back, we started the band again. And I tried to get a guitar player in, this guy Ronnie Torina, who used to play with me back in the Kiss Army days when I was in a Kiss tribute band. It just didn't work out with him. The chemistry wasn't right. He wasn't feeling it and stuff. And that's when Gordon came along. It was like, look, he's like, I'll hang out with you guys until you find a permanent replacement. And I was like, all right, fine, cool, jam. Let's hang out. And that first rehearsal was just like so incredible. I mean, it's like hair was standing on end. We got goosebumps and everything. We were just like, all right, we're not touching this. Right. We're going to keep it the way it is.
And, it's like a good relationship when you know the chemistry is there. And we kind of knew it from the get-go. It just like, kind of clicked right away.
We didn't even have to add water, for Christ's sake. It just was like, So, it just turned out that way. And, Gordon is just, he's amazing to have next to me. Because he, it's like if I'm lagging, Gordon's there to put his foot in my ass. So it's just like it's so great. He's just. I mean, you've heard Gordon. We don't even need a PA for Gordon.
How do you not hear Gordon?
Yeah, exactly.
I can hear Gordon on the way to the Harley Davidson shop from where I parked a block away.
He's got so much energy.
We play in Great Neck. They hear us in Jersey.
It's infectious. It's like very cool. And I think that's the appeal. He keeps all of us on our toes. And it shows when we're playing, and that's why everybody is like so into the band before they even like realize that we're playing.
He's got this infectious enthusiasm and energy, and that's part of what our chemistry is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
On my Facebook on my Facebook page recently, I actually reposted the YouTube link to the performance that you had earlier this year. And Wayne, you can quote me on this, and I'll take it to the grave with me. Bad Habits is the best fucking Thin Lizzy tribute band I ever heard. And I'm not saying that because I'm friends with the guy. I'm saying because I'm a Thin Lizzy fanatic. I never had a chance to see the original lineup. The closest thing I got to seeing them was the Black Star Riders opening up for Priest and Saxon at the Nassau Coliseum. I studied the guitar parts. I studied the moves of Phil Lynott. I studied the music. These guys nail it. Every time it sends chills on the goosebumps of your goosebumps. It makes your arm hair grow even longer, like you were on some kind of like cow-induced steroids. It's awesome stuff. You guys really are the best Thin Lizzy tribute I've ever heard.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
If Phil were here today, he'd say, "Good job, lads."
He'd probably say, "Fucking brilliant."
Yeah, I actually.
Yes, you can. You said it.
Yeah, of course. You can say whatever you want here. I don't give a shit. Yeah, I didn't know. I never even heard about you guys. I live on Long Island as well, but I never. I'm usually not a show goer, but
even when he was playing them, he never showed up.
No, I didn't. Not really. But when I was talking to Timo Tolkki, I don't know if you guys know who he is at all from Stradivarius. Probably not. Not too many people.
They're a Finnish power metal band, and Timo has a podcast on our network, and Wayne's his co-host.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. So I was talking to him because we're starting to do, me and Lou and a couple other guys that I know, we're starting to do cover songs. So when I mentioned it to Timo, he said, "Yeah, I'll do a cover song. Maybe let's do like a Thin Lizzy song." And I thought, oh no, he wanted to do a Gary Moore song. So I said, "Oh, how about Out in the Fields?" And it's got two singers on it. That's got Phil Lynott and Gary Moore singing. So Timo's like, "I'll do the Gary Moore stuff, and we got to find somebody to do the Phil Lynott stuff." And then Lou tells me, "Oh, I know somebody to be perfect for that. I know a band that's a tribute band to Thin Lizzy." And then he showed me the video that he was just talking about, and I saw it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you sound almost really close to Phil Lynott." So I said, "It'd be perfect. It'd be awesome."
Cool.
It's I don't just go up there and wing it. It's like I try and listen to like the way he sounds and stuff, and I do try to emulate him. As close as I possibly can. I mean, it's, I don't think I'm by any means like in the center. You know what I mean? But I do what I can, to try and like at least do his vocals justice, because I think he's an amazing vocalist. The melodies that he comes up with and the lyrics that he comes up with, amazing.
His phrasing of his lyrics as well, and I mean, as someone that's played in a bunch of tribute bands as well, you're paying homage to the artist that you're performing, and you're trying to be as respectful to it without like tainting the music or the image or yourself. So you kind of have to carry yourself with like a certain level of dignity and respect when you're playing these songs. Otherwise, people are gonna go, they're just either they're not gonna just stop showing them. They're just gonna badmouth you any chance they get. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad. And Rich is actually somebody that I've known for almost 20 years right now. We both used to work at a guitar store together on Queens Boulevard, aka Death Boulevard. Right. I forgot the name of the I forgot the name of the store, or New York Guitars, I think it was.
Guitars. It was Northern Guitars, and it switched to New York Guitars.
And it was funny because I remember I told Rich, I'm like, I recently got my hands on this this is the first time I ever heard Thin Lizzy. I said, I recently got my hands on this Thin Lizzy Greatest Hits called Dedication. And he said, you're only now discovering Thin Lizzy? Yeah. So you shamed me then, Rich, but I forgive you because you were right for doing that.
I didn't mean to shame you, but I'm glad you went down there. It's worth the rabbit hole to go down, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I
saw them... Iceberg, too, man, that album. Forget about it. There's so many great songs that they came out with.
That album was my introduction to Thin Lizzy.
As well as
really?
that Live and Dangerous.
I mean, most people in the United States only know Boys Are Back in Town,
right?
Jailbreak.
Yeah.
And beyond that, it's like who, what? Yeah, Whiskey in the
Yeah, I talked about that. What was that, Luke?
They only know Emerald because everybody and their mother has covered it. I mean, Mastodon's covered it, Ace Frehley's covered it, so that's probably like the third most well-known song on that album.
Yeah. So I talked to the guys at work, and I'm like, Thin Lizzy is like one of the awesomest bands ever. Like you don't even realize you know who they are. And I'm telling them the songs. They obviously they know, Boys Are Back in Town, like you just said, and Jailbreak. And I've actually, one of the guys never even heard of Jailbreak. I'm like, it's on the radio all the time. I do not know this.
Yeah. No? That's the go-to song whenever they do like Workforce Block on Q104.
Right, yeah.
Boys and Jailbreak.
So when somebody says they don't know Thin Lizzy, I'm just like, how do you not know? And sometimes I play it to them. Sometimes they just don't like it. I don't know if it's just the sound because it's from the 70s or 80s or whatever, and they don't like that type of sound.
Not like that. I love it. Yeah. It's like they like all of music nowadays is you rarely ever hear anything that emulates the sounds of the 70s or the early 80s. Right. I mean, it's just the whole production was like completely overhauled, like from the mid 80s towards like now. Right. And it's just you don't get that same warmth, that same like cool feeling.
Back then you knew people were playing their instruments. Now everything's computerized. Every single band almost sounds the same. It's hard to differentiate which band sounds like what. Back then you can tell what drummer was from what band just by listening to the drummer play. Now you don't know who's who. Everybody sounds the same now.
And the sound now is like so much more sterile. It's not warm. It's not it's not enticing.
Not realistic. Yeah.
I kind of look at Thin Lizzy as being like the godfathers of double guitar hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Allman Brothers were doing double guitar, well before them, but in the hard rock genre, before the so-called new wave of British heavy metal, when you had bands like Iron Maiden and Motorhead and so on and so forth, Thin Lizzy was doing it first with the double guitars.
Right. Yeah.
And,
they definitely made it a style. For sure.
Yeah,
I mean, anybody.
Definitely.
The guys from the guys from Maiden, all the guys, the big bands like Iron Maiden, they all tell you that they're influenced, and it's obvious they're influenced by Thin Lizzy for sure. Yeah, just they made a style out of it. Other bands did double guitar harmonies, but Thin Lizzy definitely made a style out of it.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that because like you just said, Maiden, and then even bands like Halloween and bands like that. You know, they added the double bass, but then they added the double guitars, and it definitely came from Thin Lizzy. You know, especially they started on that Nightlife album, right? That's when they got the dual guitars together.
Yeah.
Even more recent, like bands like Avenged Sevenfold. Mm-hmm. It's all in the heavier bands. You hear even Metallica.
Yeah.
Metallica, you hear the guitar harmonies on like Master of Puppets or like Creeping Death. All those early Metallica records with the harmonies, it's all Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and thank to Metallica, because I always liked Boys Are Back in Town. You know, that's always been a favorite. But I never got into Thin Lizzy. Like, you know, I got to go buy an album because that's the only song I ever heard from them. You know, since I was a little kid. And then when Metallica finally did the Whiskey in a Jar, that made me pay more attention to Thin Lizzy a little bit. And then I realized other bands did. Halloween did. What the hell's this song? I don't remember off the top of my head, but they did a song, and some other. Iron Maiden did Massacre. And
John Norum of Europe did Opium Trail, which is my favorite song on Bad Reputation.
Yeah, and so many other bands that I listened to were doing Thin Lizzy songs. I'm like, geez, I guess I got to check out Thin Lizzy, you know. And then I got the compilation Remembering Part 1. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one, but that kind of disappointing because it showed like the first era of the band, which is like the first 2 albums or so. And it's not the same Thin Lizzy, you know.
The early 70s Thin Lizzy is not the Thin Lizzy of the 80s.
Right, yeah. So I was a little disappointed. I'm like, where's the Thin Lizzy I want to hear? So it took me a while, you know, to finally, you know, get the albums. But when I did, I mean, you know, just awesome.
The era with Eric Bell is not bad. It's just if you really want to start on where the Thin Lizzy sound kind of started in the Eric Bell era, I would say probably the song "The Rocker." Yes, which is why that's always on every compilation of Thin Lizzy.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's always in our set list too.
That's a great one.
It is. It's awesome. What got you guys into Thin Lizzy? Like, what's that song that got you into them?
Well, speaking for myself, I think between the three of us, I probably know the least of the Thin Lizzy catalog, and there is
really.
But I got into it just, Jerry invited me in. I started playing. I started listening to the songs, and as a drummer, I really got to appreciate Brian Downey, who is one of the most underappreciated drummers in.
Yeah, I think so.
Amen.
He's an awesome. He's got jazz chops, and he plays with rock and roll intensity, and that's what appealed to me about it, and that's how I got into the music.
Thin Lizzy swings, and the reason why they swing is because of Brian Downey.
Oh, yeah.
The guitar harmonies are very unique to Thin Lizzy, but Brian Downey definitely has a claim to the Thin Lizzy sound as much as the guitar harmonies. The way he swings, man, he's a brilliant drummer, very brilliant.
Yeah. Do you ever find any hard drum parts to play or anything?
Some things are more challenging than others, especially if you're playing like a 2-hour show and then you come off of Emerald, which has those blazing 30-second note rolls, and then it's just a lot of work. It's fun. It's challenging.
Wait till you get to Sha-La-La. That's just constant double bass.
We did that. We did a live stream beginning of this year, and that was our first.
I think that's the video that he was talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Wayne. That he showed Wayne.
I'm paying attention, Chris. Don't worry. I got my eye on you.
Doing your job.
Yeah, I'm a drummer too, and I want to do some Thin Lizzy covers, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh man, I got to pick one that's a lot easier than what he's doing there, because there's no way I'm going to sit there and practice all that. So
Wimp.
You just see him live. He just makes it look so effortless.
It's
crazy.
No expression on his face. He's just there. The hands are going a mile a minute. It's just
another day at the office.
Another day at the office.
Yeah, he never misses tempo, though. You ever notice that? Downey never misses tempo. He's always consistent on every song he plays. Never speeds up, never slows down. Just, you can't say that about many drummers.
Yeah, myself included.
We didn't call him Clockwork Orange for nothing.
But it works. It works.
I go by many
names. What about you, Jerry? What got you into Thin Lizzy?
What got me into Thin Lizzy was a friend of mine. His name is Pete Murphy. He's no longer with us, but he was one of those guys. In my world, you have a handful of people that you will be introduced to in your life, and those people will shape your life into what it will be, what your character will be. And Pete Murphy for me was the first guy to do that. Actually, he was the second guy to do that. The first one was my father, and he was the guy that I met. I was offered to be in a band with him, and it was like these guys to me were like they're 2 years older than me, and they already are experienced musicians, and I'm just starting out and stuff. And he was the one that introduced me to Thin Lizzy. I think one of the first songs that we ever played together was what song was it? I said No One Told Him.
No One Told Him.
Okay.
On one of the albums. Renegade. There you go. I couldn't remember offhand. But there was, after that came like Alibi, and then after that came, The Boys Are Back, and then after that came Hollywood, and it's just, after like learning these songs and stuff, I started getting into like, and I was playing guitar, by the way. I wasn't playing bass at that point.
Oh.
And, getting into that stuff was just like amazing. And when I'm like, you guys that have been in like tribute bands, it's like when I get into a tribute band, I go down the rabbit hole. I look at the premises. I'm like constantly watching video, watching like mechanics and gestures maybe, and listening to like how he presents the song, how he sings the song, how he plays the song on bass. Incidentally, I was like cringing when these guys wanted me to play bass, because I was a guitar man. I wanted to play guitar,
Right.
And I was like, oh, but these guitar licks are so much fun. I want to play guitar, Once I got into Phil Lynot's playing and I started peeling the layers off the onion, it's amazing stuff. I can't see myself not playing bass. It's just amazing stuff.
Right.
To put it together with the vocals too and stuff, it's just incredible. Like just the melody line, I'm thinking right now, the melody line for Do Anything You Want To alone against his like bass playing is just like incredible. I love doing that song. Love it.
Yeah. Now, do you find it hard to sing while you're playing the bass in some of these songs? Because he's doing a lot of stuff in the bass sometimes.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes, but with practicing at home and then getting together once a week, rehearsing and stuff. I pushed for these guys to get together once a week. At first we weren't getting together once a week, and it showed in the performance as we were putting it ahead. And I was just like, dude, if we can get together once a week, just put one day aside a week. It's going to come much easier to us, and we're going to sound much more tighter. And that's actually what we did. So it's like when you hear what we do, it's not off the cuff. It's hard work. We work hard at what we do.
Yeah.
It's not like being in a cover band. I've been in dozens of cover bands over the years, and you just kind of go through the motions after a while. You could play like 90% of the songs with your eyes closed because you hear them all the time.
It was like Lou said, there's like a responsibility to what you're doing when you call yourself a tribute band. Yeah.
And we're not like a cookie cutter tribute band either. I think we try to capture the intensity of Thin Lizzy's performance,
the energy,
the whole energy, and it shows in the playing.
Mm-hmm.
I can vouch.
Richie, what about you?
So many aspects to Thin Lizzy. For me, it was the combination of the music, the guitar playing, the image. I'm going down like the guitar geek rabbit hole right now, and Lou will vouch for this. Lou's a hell of a guitar player. Just when you're starting out, it's true. Come on, man. So
he's all right. As long as he stays away from that flange thing, whatever.
You shut the fuck up. You leave the MX alone.
I started something. Sorry, boys. But just
all good.
As a guitar player, hearing again, The Boys Are Back in Town. There's a lot of chords in there that aren't your typical, power chords that most rock and metal bands will play. Is dominant sevenths, and even songs then, like Still in Love with You, is major sevenths. So for me as a young guitar player and as a young musician, hearing those different colors and those chords, it really kind of I honed into that. And then the guitar harmonies on top of it really kind of was very unique to me, very challenging to figure out, and it was such a unique sound. And what also drew me in with the lyrics. Phil's lyrics are unbelievable. I don't think he gets enough credit as a songwriter, and definitely as a lyric writer. I was talking to these guys a couple of weeks ago, and Phil is just to me the perfect combination of James Joyce and Keith Richards.
I would add somebody else to that. I would add to me, he's kind of like Bruce Springsteen.
Sure, absolutely, tells a great story. Again, listen to like the lyrics of The Boys Are Back in Town. He just paints a great story and a great picture, and he has that Irish heritage of the gift for gab and the imagery. So he always kind of struck me as like this world class, like Irish, like James Joyce character with the rock and roll persona of Keith Richards. Again, another one of those larger than life characters that you just can't make up. If Phil Lynott didn't exist, you'd have to make him up. So his lyrics and his storytelling got me into it, and also the band's image. Like to this day, like when I think of like what a rock band should look like, it's the classic lineup with Thin Lizzy.
They were like a working class rock band.
Yeah. That's what came through in the lyrics.
They look like any picture you see of like the classic lineup of Downey, Robertson, Gorham, and Lynott. They look like a bunch of guys who would just steal your fucking lunch money and look good doing it. And
if those boys want to fight, you better let them.
Exactly right. They struck and anything with Phil, they just struck me as a gang. That always appealed to me. So that was the appeal of Thin Lizzy, just like the image and the songwriting and the guitar playing. And to this day, even before I was in this band, Scott Gorham is actually one of my biggest influences of all time as a guitar player. I think his guitar playing is just super melodic, and it's an honor to take that role up in this band because he's an influence of mine anyway. Yeah. So it was really kind of, he's just a brilliant player. So that's what kind of Lizzy. So
very cool. Lou, you want to say something?
Nothing in particular.
I
was getting engulfed into what Richie was saying about Scott Gorham. I think of the greatest rhythm guitar players in rock and roll, and he's definitely in my top 3. I would put him right up there with Malcolm Young, and well, you know what? I put him right up there with Malcolm Young, so that's it. Because to me, Malcolm Young is the great. Oh, and James Hetfield, obviously. Although James Hetfield came way after Scott, but. So much that he alone with his rhythms and his patterns contributed to their sound. And Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was Scott who did the solo for The Sun Goes Down, correct?
Yes, that was him.
Yes, that's one of the greatest solos ever recorded. David Gilmour, Eat Your Heart Out.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, I remember watching the Behind the Music of Thin Lizzy, and that was actually my gateway into learning about who they were.
Yeah.
And Scott Gorham said that back in the day, people looked at them and, yes, we were a legitimate gang because if you mess with us, we kicked your ass.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
And it always struck me that way. You look at the cover of Fighting.
Yeah, they weren't posers by any means.
They weren't playing around. That was a band that was not playing around. You don't want to run into them in an alleyway at night, And getting back to Gorham, his playing is so melodic. And such, like his choice of notes are always just perfect, and it was always the perfect combination against any of the guitar players in the band. Like you had Brian Robertson, who again I think is another unbelievably underrated guitar player.
Yeah.
His wah playing is up there with anybody, bar none, no question about it. The way his sound is playing, and you had Gary Moore in the band, and then you had John Sykes, and Scott Gorham's playing always complimented, no matter who was on the other side of the stage. And he always knew his role, and he was like so confident in his playing. Like he never tried to play fast like Sykes. Never tried to play like Gary Moore. There was no competition. He was very confident in who he was, and he's just an amazing, very underrated player. One of my main influences. So, no question about it.
Now, when those 2 guitar players left, and then they had the Renegade album and Thunder and Lightning. I mean, what did you think about that lineup?
Well, the Thunder and Lightning lineup was with John Sykes, which is pretty fucking cool, actually. I mean, and one of the few albums, there were 3 albums that I was into when I first started. It was Dedication, it was Live and Dangerous, and it was Live Life, which was my introduction to The Sun Goes Down. And that song is just amazing. I love that song. It tells a great story, and it's a great hook. The bass line is just like incredible.
Yeah. It's funny. When I first heard that song, actually somebody else was covering that song, and I'm like, all right, it's a cool song. When's it going to do something? Because it just seems like it's going to go on, and then it's going to lead to something like some big kind of ending or whatever, and it doesn't.
It's all vocal.
It's all vocal, and it's just got
like doesn't have to go anywhere. Leave it alone.
The emotion that Bill lets out during that song on Live Life is just, it sends chills up my back every time I listen to it.
Doesn't have to. It's already there. It doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. That's why I said after I was listening to it, I'm like, it's awesome. It didn't really need to do anything. It did what it had to do, and it's an awesome song.
It's just incredible. They captured quite the moment on Live. I don't know if they repeated it like night after night the way it felt on that album, but that album, it's just like perfect. You know, couldn't have done anything to make it sound better.
One of the saddest facts that I read about Thin Lizzy was that the performances for the Thunder and Lightning tour, which they already said was going to be their farewell album and tour, were some of the best of their performances. And I think that they were just burnt out. They were burnt out from the drugs, burnt out from the touring, burnt out from the lifestyle. And they said, and I think I actually recall reading somewhere where Phil said, you know what, why am I quitting the band? Why am I bringing the band up? We're performing the best we performed in years, and I'm bringing us up now when people are actually showing that they care. And that was, you mentioned, Jerry, that you don't know if he would have duplicated that same performance on a nightly basis. He sounded like that they were. He sounded as though they were, and it kills me to know that today Phil Lynott broke them up because of the circumstances that surrounded them. And I think that if he didn't, I would hope that he'd still be here with us today performing those songs. Because again, if you look at, there's a couple of actual performances from that tour that you could find on YouTube. And I'm sorry, as much as I love the Robertson era, Thin Lizzy was on fire during the Thunder and Lightning tour. And it's like, John? I wish that John Sykes had just said, "Phil, don't break it up. I won't join David Coverdale and get fired by the time their biggest album comes out." Like, come on.
Yeah, well, John Sykes definitely injected that energy into that. Listen
he was
to
a breath of fresh air.
Right. Listen to that Thunder and Lightning record. It just became a heavier sound, which was the sound of the early '80s with that new wave of British heavy metal music. And John Sykes brought that in there, changed Phil's songwriting, changed his lyric writing, changed the whole sound of the band, and really injected that extra energy into it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think what Wayne was getting at was the Snowy White area.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that was what, Chinatown
and Renegade.
Renegade also.
Yeah,
I like the music. I mean, it's like I just didn't think, like when I crawled down the rabbit hole, as he likes to say, on YouTube and like looked for live performances with Snowy White. He didn't seem to fit the band that well. I mean, he's a good guitar player, but he didn't have that fat sound that Robbo had or that Gary Moore had, or even John Sykes. John Sykes got this like very distinctive fat, like, I guess, brown sound. It was warm, it was thick. It sounded like if you had to walk through it, you'd have problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way it sounded, and Snowy White didn't have any of that. I mean, it's very, very thin. The songwriting was great, though. Right. I love Chinatown and Renegade. Renegade's like one of my favorite albums.
Mine too.
I mean, it's just killer, the stuff that's on that album.
I feel the exact same way. I mean, I think I'm a song guy, so to me, the songs on both those records, especially Renegade might be my second favorite Thin Lizzy record. The songs are strong, but I just like Jerry was saying, I didn't feel that Snowy White fit the band. Now, here's the deal: Snowy White's a hell of a guitar player. The guy played with Pink Floyd for years. He plays in Roger Waters' band. So the guy has a pedigree. He's an amazing guitar player. I just didn't think he fit well in the Thin Lizzy thing. Right. He's a great guitar. He's an amazing guitar player. Snowy White, though.
If you think about it, the same thing happened with us. Because when Ronnie was in the band, he's an amazing guitar player. Amazing guitar player. But he just, the chemistry just wasn't there. It just, it wasn't a good fit for him, And then, Gordon stumbled in, and then boom, everything exploded, So
is that a Phil Lynott poster behind you, or a picture?
Oh, over here?
Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the classic pictures. It's a painting now.
Okay.
Found that online, and she bought it for me for Christmas this past.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, I see half of it, but I can tell it's him.
A painting of a photograph.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that period after Gary Moore left where, I think Midge Ure from Ultravox was the first guitarist they brought in.
Waiting for that.
And nobody talks about that, but thankfully they didn't record anything. Not that I'm knocking Midge Ure. Yes, I am. And I'll agree that there were like Renegade and Chinatown is one of those things where if you take the best songs off that, you have one great album.
Well put.
One perfect album, but
I'm completely like sold with Renegade. I love the whole album. Well put. I just think it's like amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a heavy album, you know.
Mexican Blood, Fats. Forget it. Fucking awesome, that album. I love it.
Yeah, what was up the Major thing? What was that about? Like, he, again, another great musician, but he just didn't fit. And he was in the band for like...
Well, he followed who? He followed Gary Moore the second time?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. Gary Moore, like, had enough of, like, what was going on at the time, and he like, told me he wasn't going to play, so he got Midge to, like, fill in. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Phil was actually very good friends with Major, so...
Yeah. I think they're married. They're related in marriage. I think Midge married his cousin or something like that. I think they're related in marriage somehow.
I have no idea.
No, I know stuff about Midge I don't think I should know about. I know too much.
Apparently.
But I'm a geek, so.
Favorite Thin Lizzy album? We'll start with Jerry. How about that?
Was that because he's the front man? Come on.
Yeah, why not?
I got to tell you, it's probably, I mean, Jailbreak, actually, my favorite album. Only because when I was done with high school and I was going to, like, you know, I went to an audio engineering school in Manhattan, and I would drive in every day. And that would be the tape that I would be listening to. Jailbreak, and then on the other side of the tape was Queen's A Kind of Magic. So those two albums have a very special meaning for me. You know, it's like you had the reversible heads, so you never had to touch it. It just kept playing looped, like the whole thing, like from the beginning to the end. Jailbreak from beginning to the end, Magic, and it would just start over again. I love that album. That album is like very, very cool to me. So.
Even It's a Kind of Magic. I don't know. I don't like that Queen album. It's got a few songs on there, but it's.
Well, it's being that it was a soundtrack. There are like a couple of like throwaways probably that I could do without, but it's just when you get on a ride like that, you have to go the full distance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to go from beginning to end. So that's my excuse for it, and I'm standing by it.
Wayne, if I ever hear you talk shit on the song "Give Me the Prize," I quit. I'm just letting you know that right now. That's a great song.
I'll have to re-listen to that one. I don't know.
Princes of the Universe, also great song. Love that song.
Which song?
Princes of the Universe. Oh yes. The theme song for Highlander.
Yeah. That one's okay.
It's like I love it.
It's a kind of I don't know. They got that finger snapping thing.
Oh, you skip over that one. You just go straight to Princes of the Universe. It's fine.
I just love the way it sounds. The production is just amazing.
It's got a good production sound. Yes, I don't think the songs were as strong though. For
One Vision, isn't that on that album?
Kind of Magic, yeah.
One Vision. Also,
yeah, One Vision's a good song. Yeah, I like that one. Richie, what's your favorite Lizzy album?
Oh man, off the top of my head, without thinking, Bad Reputation. I love the songs.
Oh, yeah.
I love the sound. I think Tony Visconti got a really killer production sound to that record. I just love the songs. Opium Trail is like an underrated Lizzy song. Killer Without a Cause is an unbelievably underrated Thin Lizzy song. The title track. I think Brian Robertson's guitar work on that record is just stellar and phenomenal. His wah work is phenomenal. I just think the songs are strong and the production. So I go with Bad Rep.
Yeah.
I got Renegade is a very close second to me.
I go. Yeah.
It's hard to pick like a favorite one,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, thanks to Jerry, my introduction to Lizzy was the dedication.
I was just going to say.
Which is not really, it's a compilation.
Yeah, that doesn't really count.
Does it count?
Shit, yeah.
It's all
been Lizzy. Of course it counts. But then obviously, Jailbreak for me, that was like their biggest studio album. And Johnny the Fox, I like Johnny the Fox.
Yeah,
really interesting. Interesting. Lou, what about your favorite Lizzy album?
Black Rose.
Nice.
I'm surprised these guys hadn't mentioned that.
Nice.
Black Rose, because that was my introduction to the great late Gary Moore, who has become one of my biggest influences ever. I mean, You know, it's funny. Most people think of the Fender Strat and they think of Eric Clapton. I think of the Fender Strat and I think of Gary Moore making it his bitch like it owed him money. So
that version of Shapes of Things, that lead on Shapes of Things.
Oh my God, that's the best version of that song.
Oh my God. It's like what is this guy doing? Phenomenal. But that was at that mid '80s period with Gary Moore with the Strat. Absolutely. Yes. Pink Strat, but phenomenal.
Yes, and a great touring lineup. You know, he had Neil Carter from UFO, he had Ian Pace from Deep Purple, and who else did he? I know he had Bob Daisley in and out of the band a couple of times. Regardless, and this is not a knock on Brian Robertson. It's just, for me, I mean, Gary Moore is, I don't know, he's just legendary. He's just.
They're two different guitar players. Every one that they had, were like individuals. You can't even compare them.
Yeah, you know? and like I said, I'm not knocking Brian at all. I mean, I think the album he did with Motorhead, Another Perfect Day, is probably one of the best Motorhead albums. Yeah. Although, I know that a lot of the fans were quite disappointed when they saw that tour and they did not perform Ace of Spades because he didn't want to do it. So shame on you, Brian.
Right. See, I knew Gary Moore as a blues guitarist before I even knew that he was in Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, so did I.
And I used to cover some of his songs in other bands, but different style, but it all complemented the Thin Lizzy sound.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what I think? I think Phil Lynott adapted to those sounds. He heard what they brought to the table and he wrote around it. Mm-hmm. And just made it like, Thin Lizzy. Like that.
Wayne, what's your favorite album?
Same as yours.
Mine.
Same one. Black Rose.
Okay, I take it back.
You forgot it already? Oh. Only one song on there. I'm not fond of S&M. I mean, it's a decent song.
How could you not like that song?
It's not that I don't like it. It's
Good night, everybody.
Oh, God, that's it. I'm done. S&M is like my favorite song on that album, man.
I don't know.
Man. The bass line is just amazing. And his vocals and stuff. I mean, oh my God.
He's having an orgasm.
I can't believe you like that song.
Jerry just had a full-on John Travolta moment. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Check this out, you're gonna die. I swear.
But it's the only one I don't like on there. I mean, it's not that I hate it. It's just I don't know. The other songs just stand out more to me than that one does. But it's that album's a perfect 10, really. It's an awesome album. Just it's got a good story, and even the ending, and also some way I feel like that's him telling his own story of his life, because he ends up dying and from drugs, and it's you can tell that has to do with him. So it's a very personal record.
Well, he related to the Celtic character Cú Chulainn, and actually, Jim Fitzpatrick, the artist who designed a couple of the Thin Lizzy album covers, actually was quoted as saying that Phil related a lot to Cú Chulainn and kind of saw himself going the same path, where he would be more well known after his death than during his life, and that's unfortunately kind of what ended up happening.
Yeah. And when you hear the lyrics to "Got to Give It Up" from that record, that's Phil's life right there. At that moment in his time, that was his moment. That's another thing about his lyrics. He lived it. It's his story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've heard countless amount of songwriters that have said, it's like it's best to write about yourself and what put yourself into your music and your lyrics and stuff. And he did that 100%. No doubt.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's what's appealing also, is that he invited you in. This is who I am. Listen to my songs,
Unapologetic.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Least favorite Thin Lizzy album.
Wow. Oh, wow. I don't think that exists on my...
We'll start with Chris this time. Dedication?
Dedication, that album. The best of us don't count.
Well, it's hard to say. I can't say that I don't like anything from Thin Lizzy. A lot of people give a negative criticism to Renegade, but I like that album. I can't really say what I hate about Thin Lizzy, except when the show's over.
Jerry.
I gotta tell, probably like the Eric Bell stuff is the stuff that I least listen to.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's like I can catch, the Whiskey in a Jar on Dedication, Rocker.
Read between the lines.
Or the Rocker on Dedication and stuff like that. So that's my full of like Eric Bell. I should really like check it out though. I should really get into it and like listen to it. But as of this moment, the Eric Bell stuff like Blue Orphanage and what was the other one?
Vagabond.
Yes.
I'm
just, I don't know.
It's funny because I was putting a playlist of Thin Lizzy songs today. Like I ended up picking 66 songs that I love of Thin Lizzy. And
66.
Yeah, 66. It was, I was surprised it was that many. I forget how many albums they have, But what was the album you just said? Western.
Vagabonds of the Western World.
It's got such a freaking long title, you can't remember it.
Yeah.
But that one is one where I think that they are starting to become Thin Lizzy on that album.
Okay.
As opposed to the first two. The first two, they're kind of getting to know what the band's about, and then once they get to that album, I think then you really start to hear, because the Rocker's on that one, and I even think Whiskey in a Jar is in that one too. Yeah. So you really start to hear the Thin Lizzy sound coming in on that one. What about you, Richie?
My least favorite, probably Nightlife.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay. What happened to the computer's fine? Yeah, probably Nightlife. Not because of the songs.
Take it easy.
I just think
we disappeared.
I'm right here. What?
Yeah, they didn't go anywhere.
All right. Our screen just kind of went a little.
It just split.
My least favorite is definitely Nightlife. Not because of the songs. I think the songs and the performances are great. I don't like the production. I don't like. It's too mellow for me.
Yeah.
Whereas on the next record, Fighting, they really kind of came out fighting. But I don't like the production on Nightlife. So that's my least favorite record. It has nothing to do with the songs or the performances. It's just got to do with the sound of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's very mellow throughout almost the whole album.
There's one song on Nightlife that.
Chinatown.
Oh, okay. No, we were talking about albums while you were having your response.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
Except for like Shalala on that record, everything is just kind of on the mellow side for me.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree. Lou, what about you?
I'm with Richie on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. Mine is going to be, the first two. It's hard to pick which one's worse than the other, but maybe the same titled one is probably the least favorite, because there's maybe one song on there, and there's one song, something about Down on the Farm or something like that, and the way he says Down on the Farm sounds like, I don't know, he just does something weird with his voice in there. I'm like, that just sounds funny.
okay.
Is there any songs that you won't play live?
As far as I'm concerned,
Dedication.
I want to play it all,
or anything from that album.
As far as I'm concerned, I want to play it all. Dedication, I would be all over that, no problem. I've been wanting to play some of the stuff from Live Life, like Got to Give It Up and Sun Goes Down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so thick with like
synthesizer.
Yeah, synthesizer and keyboard and stuff. We haven't really gotten through or even discussed the logistics of like how we would like pull that off. Mm-hmm. Because we don't want to. It's fair to say that the guys don't want to like add anything else to this mixture that we got for fear that we might dilute the chemistry that we already have.
Right.
So we just wanted to remain the four of us, hard driving, hard hitting, in your face. And so because of that, we would have to like come up with some kind of way of having the keyboards being piped in, maybe, or something. I mean, Gordon spoke about it with me once, and he was like talking about doubling on the keyboard while playing guitar. But I would rather see him,
stick to
one instrument and not, like, what do they call it? I can't think of the word. Spread himself thin.
Too thin, right?
I guess would be the right phrase for that.
Well, then you have guest players, not full-time members,
right.
But like we did with our live stream.
Yes, we did that. Yeah,
we were very honored to have Randy Gregg play with us.
Yes, that was awesome.
That was a great experience.
And then Colleen also on saxophone was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Sun Goes Down is like one of my all-time favorite songs. I want to play that so bad. I just want to be able to like get into his shoes, like vocally, just like transcend myself into his soul in that song.
So you want to go down that rabbit hole?
He just has amazing feel to that song on the Live album. I just love it when he screams out, "Someone save our senators." I mean, it's just. Oh, I'm getting chills now just thinking about it.
His headlights are on. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see the goosebumps from here.
It's awesome.
It's kind of
Ow, my eye.
It is. I'm not gonna lie. I'm next to the guy. It's weird.
And have any of you guys seen Thin Lizzy live at all, or?
Yes.
Oh, you did.
I saw them in Manhattan on 2011.
Oh.
They played with Vivian Campbell that show. And after that, I think Damon Johnson played with them after that. But that was an amazing show because Viv was doing all the little guitar fills that you hear on the studio albums, but you don't hear on the live albums.
Right.
Like there's this one, when they did Jailbreak, there's this one high, like, single note that comes up when they're actually singing the chorus. It's like, tonight is going to be a jailbreak. And you hear in the background on the studio album, you hear in the background this high pitched note that's going on. And Vivian was like on top of that every time. It was just like so cool to hear. They were on fire that night, by the way, too. Fucking Brian Downing was he's just amazing. And he was pushing 60 at the time already.
Yeah.
I had the chance to see that same lineup open up for Judas Priest in New Jersey in November 2011, but there was just one problem. We got there too late.
Oh!
It literally started at 6:30.
Oh my god!
Wow, that's early.
I didn't realize Priest was going to do a 3-hour set list that night. Not that I'm complaining, but the only thing that I would have complained is if I got there and I saw Black Label Society in between. It should have been Black Label, Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest.
Yeah, definitely.
You would think, yeah.
Wow. It's been kicking yourself.
Yeah. Richie, you said you saw them live?
I saw them at the Beacon with
Okay.
It was John Sykes,
John
Sykes, Darren Wharton, Scott Gorham, Marco Mendoza, and Tommy Aldridge.
Oh wow!
So that had to be probably earlier than 2011. So that was great.
I think that was even 2006 maybe?
2006. I saw them at the Beacon. Then they came around. They played Mulcahy's out in Long Island, but it was out of a snowstorm, and there was no one there.
Oh wow!
I was right at the front. It was a sold out show, but no one showed up in the snowstorm. So we were right at the front of the stage. And my buddy Chris, who used to play in Bad Habits, the guitar player, he met Scott the band the same day or the day before at Mr. Cheapo's record store. Mm-hmm. He met the band, so we got right up to the front. And I didn't go to Mr. Cheapo's, but we ended up right against the front of the stage. And Scott Gorham recognized Chris. He's like, "Yeah, I remember you from this record store yesterday." And it was really kind of cool. I was like, it was a really cool moment, man. It was cool. But I saw him at Mulcahy's. It was maybe had 100 people in the place, maybe in the middle of a snowstorm.
Wow.
Great, phenomenal, man. So I saw him twice. I never got to see him with Phil, which is a little too young.
None of us got Phil.
Yeah, that sucks. Now you didn't mention Mr. Cheapo's too. I go there all the time. The one in Comac, great store.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to go to that store too, Lou. It's cool.
The one in Comac.
There's one in Comac, and then there's one in Massapequa.
Yeah, there's one in Mineola too.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Mineola. That's the one I've been to. The only one I knew there was one in Comac. I didn't know there was one in Massapequa.
No, I meant Mineola. Sorry, I got the M's messed up.
Ah.
I know it started with an M. The one in Mineola is way too far for me. But both stores are cool, and you're welcome, Mr. Cheapos, for giving you a shout out. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
I want that 15% off now.
Yeah, really.
We are taking vendors, so
Keep buying product,
Yeah.
Keep buying records. And
I have a funny story I'd like to share with you gentlemen. So my wife and I, when we were dating, we were in Ireland in 2005. We visited Shannon. We visited Killarney and Waterford, Dublin, and Galway.
Okay.
So when we got to Killarney, we would go on our tour of the town during the daytime. At night, we'd have dinner. Then we would go to the local pub, and we chatted it up with a couple of the locals. And Ireland is one of the European countries that I've been to where they think very fondly of Americans, and I love them for it, by the way. And they were talking about I remember 2005. He was asking me, "So have you ever heard of Thin Lizzy?" And I said, "Oh yeah, of course I've heard of Thin Lizzy. Boys Are Back in Town." He's like, "Fuck that, man. You gotta dig deeper than that." And he said, "Let me tell you, Phil Lynott, man, the man was a god. The man was a god among men. He could have knocked you out with his lyrics. He was great. The best Irish rock singer ever in history." And I said, "Oh, what do you think of Bono?" Because at the time, U2 was really the only band. I said at the time that was the only Irish rock band that I really knew. But he said, "Oh, fuck him. You Yanks could keep him."
Yeah, where's the statue of Bono in Dublin Square?
Yeah, that's right.
And that the thing that killed me is that a month later was when they unveiled the statue of Phil, and I missed it.
That sucks.
But I did leave the airport that day with Thin Lizzy's greatest hits, where it wasn't just Thin Lizzy songs, but it was also rare live tracks.
Oh, cool.
There was a live track. There was 2 live tracks from the Australian tour they did with Gary Moore and Mark Nassif on drums. There was a couple of Phil solo tracks on there, also some stuff with Grand Slam. And my God, I thought Dedication was a great compilation. This was such an amazing representation of Thin Lizzy. But like everything, goes out of print, which is why I tell people, hold on to your physical media.
Yes.
The live tracks from Australia, was Me and the Boys one of those live tracks?
No, it was not. It was Cowboy Song into Boys Are Back in Town. And I kid you not, it was... I'd have to say it was the best performance combo of those 2 songs. Not taking anything away from Brian, but Mark Nassif, if Brian Downey had not come back to the band, he would have been the perfect replacement. I thought he really...
I saw that whole show from Australia. I have it on tape, and they were on fire that night. They were on fire that night. And he's a New Yorker too, Mark Nassif, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
New York. So kudos to that, But that's another song that I would love to do live is Me and the Boys. I would love to do that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's just there's a lot of great stuff that they recorded. I mean, Are You Ready? I think there's a studio version of it somewhere, but it's not really available on any official release.
I don't think there is.
No.
I think I have here. I have this. Wait, let me see where is it.
But I know Henry Rollins covered that, and Scott Gorham was actually the guitarist on it. What do we got?
Okay. Has interviews on it. Okay. A special section with interviews on it. And I think I remember Brian Robertson saying that they never recorded Are You Ready? They never recorded Are You Ready? They never recorded Baby Drives Me Crazy.
Well, that's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of bull, because I hold this in my hand as we speak.
Ooh.
Disc 4, Rarities number 2, number 14, Are You Ready demo.
Oh, it's a demo.
So they did record it.
Was it on an album?
It wasn't on an album, but it was recorded as a demo.
Okay, what about the other one, Baby Drives Me Crazy?
Well, it's going to take me forever. Keep talking. So it's not dead air.
It's funny that,
and Me and the Boys also wasn't recorded on a studio album.
It's funny you mentioned Ireland, because Phil is so loved in Dublin because he still lived there. He became a rock star and he became Phil Lynott, but he still lived in his hometown. Whereas U2, the minute they got some money, they were in America. They weren't paying that income tax. They came right to America, man. That's why Phil is kind of very much beloved in Ireland, especially in Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
What's the joke? One of my Irish friends told me, what's the joke about Bono?
No, what's the difference between
Bono and Bono?
Yeah.
God is walking on the streets of Dublin trying to convince you he's Bono.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't see the other song. I don't see the other one on here, unless I just can't see it. But
and Phil was wonderful because he actually he stayed, like you said, Richie. He stayed loyal and true to Dublin, and he really did his best to put Irish rock on the map. I remember there was a trio of Irish brothers called Mama's Boys that came out of Belfast. That album, Power and Passion, is one of my top 10 favorite albums of the 1980s. And I'm happy to say I'm friends with Pat McManus, and we actually talk. I'm trying to get him on my podcast, but, he's, how he makes his living is as a musician touring around Ireland and the UK. So, I understand that, he's got to make his living to provide for his family. So I'm hoping that maybe when things die down with the pandemic, I can get him on. But on one of the legs of the Thunder and Lightning tour, you actually had Mama's Boys before they were signed as an opening act. Nice. So once again, Phil choosing passion before profit, and gotta love the guy.
Well, he was genuine.
Yeah.
That's the whole appeal of him, is that he was genuine. He wasn't a poser or
he wasn't affected by the
by his status,
rock stardom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He even groomed the Huey Lewis. Like Huey Lewis, just raves about him. About he took him under his wing and said, do it this way, try this, and gave him a shot. Amazing stories, amazing human.
He actually covered a Huey Lewis song called "That Is Bad," and he did a really kick-ass version of it.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you can hear the cover of it on YouTube.
Okay, I gotta check that out. Yeah. I know the Huey Lewis song "Bad Is Bad." I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, Phil covered it before. Phil's demo is before the Huey Lewis sports version, and it was actually a fast blues rocker. And I was like, damn, he made Huey Lewis sound ballsy. This is really cool.
That's cool.
That is a great song. Check it out. That's a great song.
Yeah. I can't tell you how happy it made me to see Rich's face line up when I mentioned Mama's Boys. That was great.
Oh, I know. The Mavs brothers. I know. I remember watching them. Remember U68?
I loved U68. Needle in the Groove was on heavy rotation.
Played. It's right. Absolutely. And Raven. I remember the Mama's Boys and Raven videos being played. Yeah.
On and on. I still don't know what that video is about, but I love it.
Great stuff, man. Great.
What about the Thin Lizzy? I'm not Thin Lizzy. Phil Lynott solo albums. Did you ever get into those at all?
I have those. I just purchased them. I haven't been able to get into them yet, though. Yeah. I haven't been able to sit down and give them a real proper listen.
Yeah.
I do have them both.
Yeah, they're different. They're not as great as Thin Lizzy was, but it's Phil, so it's there's some good songs on there. I think both of them. So even though you're a tribute band, do you guys ever work on original songs at all, just for the hell of it, or anything, or no?
Richie and I have.
We have
back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
We had a stint where we wrote some original tunes and stuff. We had an original band. What was the name of that band?
Jinxed.
Was it Jinx?
I think it might have been Jinxed.
Wow.
Wait, Jinx was us.
Yeah, but we were doing
covers. No, it was us.
Covers.
No, it was us.
No, it was us.
No, it was us.
We were Jinx before you were Jinx.
But yeah, we did a couple of songs at a studio called The Speed of Sound in Hempstead.
Lord Helmet.
Yeah, Elmont. Elmont's where it was.
With Lord Helmet.
On Hempstead Avenue, but it was in Elmont.
Remember the engineer? You called him Helmet?
Helmet, yeah. He called everybody Helmet, so we called him Helmet.
Yeah. He lived...
Gordon probably remembers his name because he was affiliated with February's and stuff like that. So Gordon probably knows his name. As a matter of fact, I think I remember Gordon might have mentioned his name a couple of times. I can't remember his name. It's been way too long.
I remember Helmet. I remember him living in a really squalid apartment behind the studio.
Yeah.
That was so dirty you would have to wipe your feet after you left his apartment.
I had just started out with vocals back then, and it's I was the guy the go-to guy to always sing and stuff. And at the time, our drummer wanted a lead singer. He wanted a front man,
right.
And I was playing guitar and doing the vocals and stuff. And I remember laying down the vocal tracks on the demos actually it was the one that you wrote, In the Shadows.
Okay.
And it was In the Shadows, and it was also Lessons Never Learned.
Wow.
Those are two songs.
Wow, he knows it all.
And
cool. I reached a note in Lessons Never Learned that made the engineer who called everybody Helmet say, "Wow, Helmet can sing." that was one of my first proud moments in singing vocals and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't mind being called Helmet that day at all. All we could sing.
It's funny, you mentioned about originals. We played like a couple of gigs over the past few years where, although there's a banner behind us saying that we are a Thin Lizzy Tribute band, that people actually thought we were an original band.
Yeah, they thought that we were playing with ours.
They're like, "Oh, that song's great, you guys. That's a cover." Like,
yeah, and that's
the banner says we are a tribute. So, which is actually a tribute, I think, us. I mean, you might not, you might not know the Thin Lizzy, library and the canon, but we are a really, really great rock band, and I think people might not know the material, unfortunately, but they come to see us.
Well, yeah, that's when we started coming to the realization that we have Bad Habit fans. And we're taking it upon ourselves to educate these Bad Habit fans to Thin Lizzy music.
Right.
That is our mission with this band. That's our mission statement, right?
Yeah.
You come and see Bad Habit show, and we're going to teach you all you need to know about Thin Lizzy.
Right. Yeah, they think our entire set is original, and then when we get up to Boys Are Back in Town, oh, they're doing a Thin Lizzy cover.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that, with the exception of the one or two songs that classic rock radio plays ad nauseum of Thin Lizzy, I feel like the two bands in particular that I feel like are the most overlooked and yet are probably the most influential, especially in terms of the trajectory of where hard rock music went, is probably Thin Lizzy and UFO.
Sure.
And I feel like, the contributions that Phil and company made to the world of music, it's like, once you hear it, you then realize it. So I think that your mission statement is a valid one and a noble one. And, I'm as a fan of the music, I'm grateful that you are attracting people to your band by playing the music of Thin Lizzy, and it's like, you're showing them a great tribute band the way that it should be, and playing some of the best songs ever written. And listen, if anyone thinks that I'm blowing smoke up their ass, I'm not. I'm a genuine Thin Lizzy fan, and these guys are great guys, and they deserve all the success that they get. And you don't believe me? Watch their videos on YouTube or come see them live.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, you are doing something in March, I believe, right? Lou, are you doing something with them in March?
Well, Gordon asked me if I would help you guys at your show in Massapequa for St. Patrick's Day to help with sound and a couple of things like that, and I gladly said yes.
That's cool. Great.
And
it's great to have you on board. Welcome aboard. That would be great.
Well,
thank you.
I'm glad you know now.
I take it Gordon doesn't tell you guys everything, right?
Well, he told us that he had asked you. Definitely, he told us.
And I said yes. I said yes. The only condition is that I would have to wear a mask, only because I had COVID, and even though I have antibodies, I'm just trying to keep it safe for my wife and daughter.
Absolutely. What Gordon told me was, I found somebody to work the sound. I was like, cool. So apparently I play guitar and just work here. So it's all good.
You're somebody.
It's so awesome to be somebody finally once in my life.
Right. Great.
Shit, man. If I had known that, man, I think we should do Warriors then.
What?
We should do Warriors. If he's going to be working the soundboard,
yeah,
we should do Warriors.
I'll play.
Something where there's like, a special like sound that makes the song, because it's like when we do it now, it's like people that we're doing it for don't know Thin Lizzy, so they don't like tweak, like, you don't hear that slapback. I am a warrior. You don't hear that slapback. So it would be cool to like have that. Like,
I think I have a delay pedal. That's awesome.
Cool, man.
We'll work something out. Actually, it's funny how like I ended up becoming friends with Gordon, because both of us were actually asked to record guitar solos for that Long Island We Are Stars tribute.
Yeah.
And I liked Gordon's solo the most and not knocking any of the great guitar players that were in there, such as Jake from Completely Unchained and Damien from Rock of Ages, as well as other countless bands. But I just thought I liked Gordon's the most because he had, and I didn't associate him with Bad Habits at the time, but he had the Fender Strat with the mirror pick guard, And I just thought that his take of his solo was original and it wasn't contrived. And I actually posted on the video, I said, the dude with the Strat with the mirrored pickguard was actually my favorite one. And he messaged me, he said, that's the nicest thing anyone told me. Thank you. And that's how we became friends.
Cool.
And, you know, this summer was when we went to see, my wife and daughter and I, we went to go see Bad Habits perform for a breast cancer benefit.
Yes, Rocket for Cure.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, my mother-in-law is a breast cancer survivor, so my wife and I, we were happy to come down and support and buy some stuff there and, you know, got to meet the guys and, you know, thank you for giving us a great time that day.
Oh, it was our pleasure.
Glad everything worked out, you know, with your mother-in-law.
The only sad note about that day, I heard that Harley dealership closed.
Did it really?
No.
Ooh.
Victim of the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
you know, actually, that Wayne, if I could ask the guys a question.
Yeah.
So with the pandemic going on and us losing some great rock clubs, including Revolution in Amityville, how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like there's still hope for the Long Island scene? And, you know, what do you think would be best for some of the venues that are in danger of closing, or someone that may have the idea to probably try to save it with a new club somewhere? Like, what do you guys think? Like, you know, what would you like to see happen?
I was definitely upset to see Revolutions go because we had really good times there. We played there like, what, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, it was just such a hub of the scene.
Yeah.
And it's
it was a great way to
big loss
plug
not
in.
to have that anymore.
it's definitely a challenge. You have to keep everyone safe and healthy, but everyone has to still pay their bills. And along the lines, you know, there has to be some kind of a middle ground, I think. But one thing I will tell you that once, you know, storms eventually run out of rain, you know, and the rain's going to run out of the storm eventually. When, I don't know, we take it one day at a time. But once the storm is over and the rain stops, the scene's going to explode because right now people are dying for live music. Pardon, that was terrible. I shouldn't have said it that way. People are clamoring for
too soon.
But people are clamoring for live music. I mean, they're hungry for it. They're starved for it. You know, they need that experience of live music. So once the rains are off, and once the rain stops, and once everything kind of settles down, and it will settle down.
I think you got to remain hopeful. You know, that things, you know, restrictions are going to ease. You have to believe that things are going to improve because what's the option?
Right. The only concern that I have personally is what's going to be left. Because it's going to it's almost kind of like when a tornado goes through like a town. Yeah, okay, the tornado went through the town. It was devastation, and the next day is like 80 degrees out and it's sunny. Like, oh, it made it through the storm. Where did everyone go? Where did that store go? So that's my only concern. That once it passes, there's not going to be any place to play because these places had to close down, unfortunately, because they couldn't make ends meet. But just got to take it one day at a time, you know. So
yeah, we're all hopeful. I mean, that's all we can do right now is just hope. You know,
just be ready for when it happens.
Yeah.
You know, with a beautiful statement like that, I nominate Rich Rossicone for governor of New York. That was awesome.
No, too many skeletons.
That gave me more hope than anything that schmuck ever did.
No, I have too many skeletons in my closet. That's not me. It's Maya Angelou. That wasn't my core. I wish it was. But it was Maya Angelou. But it's going to happen. You know, when and what's left, who knows? But that's the thing. Chris brought up a great point. Be prepared. Bands out there, be prepared. Rehearse if you can. Again, if you can, do your rehearsals with keeping everyone in your band members, your family safe. Rehearse. Work on your craft because once the gates are open, just be out there and just be the best you can. Just kick everyone's butt.
Yeah, once everything shut down, I think it took us it took me like maybe 4 months before I was just like, dudes, let's get back into the fucking studio. Let's play. You know, I mean, let's at the very least, let's rehearse, stay sharp. You know,
as our brother Gordon is fond of saying, chance favors the well prepared.
Yeah, be prepared. You know, and but you always want to be safe. You know, you have to come with because this thing is.
Well, that's why it took 4 months because when all this first went down.
Yeah, nobody knew what was
going on.
It was crazy. I mean,
and even when we did our live stream, how long ago was that? A month ago?
About a month ago, something like that. Yeah.
people were very respectful of the situation. We had a small audience in the studio, but everybody kept their distance. They wore masks. It was
good.
And maybe that's where the live scene is heading to, is just to be more mindful of that. I think at
least for the time being, until the vaccination gets spread around and stuff, and everybody starts to feel better about going out amongst everybody again. But for now, it's just if they just walk the walk, and do what they're expected to do, and just be respectful for everybody else, we'll get along fine. We'll get through it fine. The
world is a jelly donut. The best part of a jelly donut is the middle. Right? You get the jelly and the donut. But unfortunately, sometimes shutting down for the next 5 years. Well, that's not going to work. Well, let's just open everything up for the next 5 years. Don't worry about it. That's not going to work. The answer is the jelly donut. Be the jelly donut.
I'm having
the answer.
Right? I don't like jelly donuts. You had to pick a jelly donut.
Once again, Rich speaks to my heart. Jelly donuts are my favorite. That's awesome.
Shit, that. The answer's right in the middle, man. To me, but and now I'm starving. Don't
stop it. If you eat after 7 o'clock, that's not good for your digestive system. Stop that.
You're right.
But one thing I do want to mention, though, even though this is going to air way after it happened, a rest in peace to Danny from 45 RPM, someone who was one of the best singers in the Long Island music scene, who passed away from COVID. And our condolences at Rat Salad Review Network to Danny's family and friends and his bandmates. And did you guys know Danny at all?
I didn't know him personally. I'd seen the band several times.
Yeah. I actually met Danny through Simon Walsh, who was the bass player for.
We used to be in a band together. Actually.
Yeah, with Simon.
With Simon, the bass player.
So, he seemed like a very cool guy. And it's sucks that he had fallen to the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's not end it on a sad note. Where could everybody?
Why are we ending?
Let's say
we're not ending. We're going for hours and hours.
That's all right.
Actually, get all your instruments. Let's play a song. Come on, let's do it.
Wow, they literally tried to end on a high note. I thought Rob Halford came in the room. Hey, Robbie.
It's my rake here.
Oh, nice. Awesome. I got one of those too.
It's an amp on the fly.
Yeah, those are cool. But where could people go to find you guys? On Facebook? Do you have a website? What do you got?
We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/TL Tribute.
Okay.
Bad Habits / if you search Bad Habits, you'll find us on Facebook.
Every time I ask a band, they don't never know their own Facebook page.
I know. What's that about, right?
Bad Habits TL Tribute.
Yep.
Right.
We also have a YouTube page. There you go, Bad Habits. Yeah, you can find us on there. We have all our videos from the live stream to bar gigs and whatnot. So we're out there. Yeah, you can find us
on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds awesome. Anything else, Lou?
No, I mean, I'm just really happy that we were able to get Chris, Jerry, and Rich on Rat Salad Review. Thank you guys for coming by. And again,
Paul, it was our pleasure.
Thank you.
And again, I'm not bullshitting when I say this. I mean, these guys do one of the best tributes, in my opinion, the best tribute to one of the best bands that ever lived, Thin Lizzy. I suggest everyone please check them out. And if you believe in supporting local live music, find out where they're playing, go see them, and just give them all your money. Really, seriously. I mean, just buy them drinks, buy them food, get anything. Just seriously.
It's been an uphill battle for us from the jump because of we could have gone out there, we could have said, let's do a Def Leppard tribute, or we could have done a Kiss tribute, and people would have flocked to us in droves. Okay, not because we do it well, but because of the music we chose to do.
Yeah.
So we've been it's been an uphill battle for us from the moment we decided to do Thin Lizzy, because Thin Lizzy is just not that popular here in New York, much less Long Island.
That's why we tell people, forget that the only song you know is Boys Are Back. Forget what you think you may know about Thin Lizzy. Remember that you love hard rockin' music. Remember that you love passionate, poetic lyrics. And remember that it came from Thin Lizzy. and remember that you heard it from Bad Habits.
That's the attitude. I remember one of the bands that I used to be in many moons ago was Snakes and Arrows. I was in a Rush tribute band. I played bass and keyboards and bass pedals. And you think bass playing and singing is difficult? Wait till you try playing keyboards with your feet while playing a bass line.
It really ain't no joke, bro.
But I tell you this though, like if it wasn't the popular tribute band at the time because most people would rather hear something from the 70s that was more simpler to play or something from the 80s that was more fun to play. Me as a musician, I was challenged by the Music Rush, and that's why I did it. And yeah, I didn't want to take the easy way. I wanted to, cut my teeth playing songs that I love that were difficult and that I didn't care if there was 5, 10, or 100 people in the audience. I said, you know what? No matter what, I'm going to go out there and do it. And that's what these guys do. They bring it every time.
At the end of the day, you got to enjoy what you're playing. Okay, so by doing that, you take a stand. And you're just like, all right, fine. I mean, it's like, that's the reason why I never got into a wedding band. You know what I mean? Because it's just not my thing. It's like I don't want to play songs or standards that people like dance to at a reception hall. I wanted to rock out. I wanted to play music that I thought was like just amazing and that moved me. And I wanted to show that to people that came to see us.
You got to do what you love, and you got to love what you do. And we hope that comes through to the audience when we play.
Yeah, because this it's definitely a labor of love. We're not getting paid like I mean, it's like we're in the red. We're completely in the red when it comes to like
Lizzy.
Yeah, when it comes to when it comes to equipment and rehearsals and just like moving stuff back and forth and playing gigs and stuff. We're broke. We all got day jobs, man. It's like we're not doing this for the money. We're doing it because we love the band.
Right. I play guitar all day long.
Well, for the people that never really heard of Thin Lizzy, what could you tell them to check out Thin Lizzy? Stop thinking of Boys Are Back in Town. What do they really have to get into listening and to get into Thin Lizzy?
I'd say you got to check out Live and Dangerous.
Yeah.
That's their
there's the 2 live albums and Dedication.
Oh, we're back to Dedication again.
That seems a theme.
I mean, it's like if you're gonna like sell Thin Lizzy to a novice, you will need Dedication. You will need Dedication.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on board with Live and Dangerous. I think it's a really great. If you want to get to like, okay, the Boys Are Back in Town is like the gateway. If you really kind of want to fall into like the rabbit hole, as I say. Live and Dangerous is a great book. All the songs are great. It's a great live record. The performances are fantastic, and the song. It's all about the songs.
Yeah,
Lizzy has the songs, man. So,
and if you're a true music fan, you will, at some point, delve in beyond the surface and see what a great lyricist Phil Lynott was. And the musicianship from whatever lineup you want to choose has been
he'll do that
incredible.
too though. Phil Lynott will like pique your interest, no doubt. With his lyrics and stuff and the way he paints.
To me, that slice of life, working class point of view.
Blue collar.
I think I think he should be held in the same regard as Springsteen.
Yes.
Van Morrison.
Yep.
I think he's in that.
Man the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if you haven't heard of Thin Lizzy, please go check out, Black Rose, any albums that we've mentioned on this whole show. I mean, even a best of whatever, just go check them out, and you're gonna love Thin Lizzy. Between Phil's poetry, lyrics, and just the musicianship that they all had together, just everything's just awesome.
Jailbreak's not a bad place to start. Come to think of it,
what isn't? What was it?
Jailbreak, the album Jailbreak.
Yeah, Jailbreak too. Yeah.
Every song on that album is amazing.
Yeah,
that's definitely not a bad place to start.
Nope, not at all.
I mean, Dangerous, matter of fact, is that.
And actually, with Jailbreak, you're getting 2 songs you've heard on the radio, and actually 3 songs. The cowboy song's always on the radio as well.
Yeah.
So you're getting 3 songs you're going to be familiar with, and then you get to listen to the rest of the album, and then get into the band more. So
it's not filler. It's like really substantial stuff. So there's not a bad song on that album.
Not at all. Lou, anything else you want to add before we head out of here now? This time for real.
No, I'm good. Just my love for Thin Lizzy is eternal. That's all I'm gonna say. Am I allowed to plug the Music Live
please.
podcast?
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you can also check out my.
All right, we're leaving now. Bye.
Oh, fuck it. Anyway.
No,
come on.
Everyone shut up. Plug it.
I know, I'm messing. You can check out the Music is Live podcast on the Rat Salad Review Network and anywhere where you can find your fine available podcasts. And also check out my YouTube page, Music is Live podcast. I need to put more content up there. So I'm actually looking at the past episodes that I did with you, Wayne. Yeah. Even though I don't have the video for it, I'm going to probably put some photos up on there to add some background to the things that we're talking about. So that includes finding still shots from Cannibal Holocaust, your favorite film, and some other stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to putting up that Joker episode that we did with Papadon. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But cool. Again, Wayne, thank you for having me on. The high muckety muck of Rat Salad Review. And so, shut up, that's my line. And salute to the Grand Poobah, Greg Noggle. And thank you to 3/4 of Bad Habits, Chris, Jerry, and Rich. And cheers to Gordon. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys. And hopefully, I will finally get out to a show. If we ever allowed to go out again and, see live shows, I will definitely come to see you guys.
That's really awesome.
Thank you.
If not, I'll drag him.
We'll put you
no, I'm coming. I'm throwing you in the trunk. We're going.
Put a mask on him when you do that.
Yes, of course. But ratsaladreview.com. Please check out all of our shows, Lou shows as well on there, South Park shows. Just go check out ratsaladreview.com. Buy a t-shirt, and we'll see you guys next time. And don't forget, Thin Lizzy. Go check out their albums, and then go check out Bad Habits, the tribute band. See you next time. Bye.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Ciao.
Thank you.